Hello, my name is Father Lawrence Jagfeld. I am a Franciscan friar of the Sacred Heart Province, headquartered in St. Louis, Missouri, and I am also the administrator of CUSA, an apostolate of persons with chronic illness and/or disability. This weekend we celebrate the Solemnity of Christ the King. This is the culmination of our liturgical year. It is the last Sunday of this particular cycle. Next Sunday we will begin again with the first Sunday of Advent. This feast of Christ the King was not always celebrated on the last Sunday in ordinary time. When I was a boy, it was celebrated on the last Sunday of October. Interestingly enough, this particular feast day is a Franciscan feast day. It came to the Church through the Franciscan order and through Franciscan theologians, particularly St. Bonaventure of Bagnoregio and St. John, or Blessed John Duns Scotus. These two Franciscan philosopher theologians held that Jesus was incarnate before the creation of man. St. Thomas Aquinas teaches that Jesus became one like us because of the so-called happy fault of Adam, that because of Adam's sin, Jesus became one of us to redeem us. But Bonaventure and John Duns Scotus, taking their cue from the letter to the Colossians, believed that Jesus was incarnate not because we needed him to be to redeem us, but rather because God loved us so much that he wanted to be one of us. And they said that it was because of this that Jesus was predestined, preordained to be the King of the universe. When, according to them, the book of Genesis says that we are created in God's image and likeness, they are maintaining that we are created in the image of the incarnate Christ, the one who has already taken on human flesh. With that background in mind, the Church celebrates this feast day, which has become not just simply a Franciscan feast day, but also a feast for the entire Church, and it proclaims Christ as our King. This is a particularly difficult thing for Americans. After all, our country was founded after a revolution to do away with our allegiance to a king, and once we broke off from England, there was some thought of making George Washington our king, but rather our political system gave us a president rather than a king, rather than an anointed king that supposedly came from God. So the notion of following a king is not something that we find easy. But if we listen to the gospel, we realize that Christ is not like some earthly king. Pilate said to Jesus, "Are you the King of the Jews?" Jesus answered, "Do you say this on your own, or have others told you about me?" Pilate answered, "I am not a Jew, am I? Your own nation and the chief priests handed you over to me. What have you done?" Jesus answered, "My kingdom does not belong to this world. If my kingdom did belong to this world, my attendants would be fighting to keep me from being handed over to the Jews. But as it is, my kingdom is not here." So Pilate said to him, "Then you are a king." Jesus answered, "You say I am a king. For this I was born, and for this I came into the world, to testify to the truth. Everyone who belongs to the truth listens to my voice." This was taken from the Gospel of St. John. The Synoptic Gospels show us a completely different picture of Jesus before Pilate. Jesus who refuses to answer, Jesus who is silent. But in the Gospel of John, Jesus and Pilate have this conversation regarding his kingdom. In that conversation, we learn that what Pilate considers a king and what Jesus considers a king are two completely different things. Pilate thinks of his own king, his Caesar. Jesus, on the other hand, thinks of his Father, who is the keeper of the truth. Those who follow Jesus the King are people who honor the truth and live that truth. And that truth is very simple, that God loves us so much that he has sent his Son among us to be one like us. According to Bonaventure and to Blessed John Duns Scotus, this truth informed all of their theology. They looked upon the entire world, they looked upon the entire created universe as being the kingdom of this incarnate God, this incarnate Jesus. They looked upon us as being created in that image and in that likeness. And it is in that light that we follow Jesus, because he is one like us, not one who lords it over us, but rather one who has loved us into existence, one who has loved us so much that he did not deign our flesh something to be avoided, but rather wanted to be one like us. What a beautiful way to finish the liturgical year, with the notion that Jesus is one of us, that Jesus lived among us, and indeed, as long as we keep his memory, that Jesus still lives with us. As we reach the end of this liturgical year, then, we do homage to such a great King, not because we are his servants, but rather because we have been served by this one who loves us so much and who keeps us in that love. For more information about CUSA, please go to our website, www.qson.org.